There's a place in Paris where the dead outnumber the living, a place where 6 million skulls line the walls like decorations. Except these decorations used to be people. And here's the real horror. People keep disappearing inside. If you ever find yourself in the Paris Catacombs, never go off the main path. Because if you get lost down there, you might not ever come back. And if you think that's just an urban legend, think again. Tonight we're venturing into the forbidden tunnels, the vanishings, and the darkest secrets buried beneath the city of light. The 18th century was a period of unprecedented growth in Paris. But with all this expansion came a massive problem. The dead were piling up, and no one knew where to put them. Paris was growing so fast, cemeteries were overflowing with bodies, many of them buried in shallow graves. Imagine, you're walking down the street, and the ground beneath you starts shifting, almost as if something is trying to push its way out. One fateful night in 1780, disaster struck. Les Innocents Cemetery collapsed, spilling the remains of thousands of bodies into the streets. A putrid stench filled the air, and the city descended into chaos. The dead were no longer staying in their graves. The public demanded action. The solution? They decided to move the dead underground. The solution wasn't just symbolic. It was a desperate response to a city on the edge of collapse. So workers began to dig up bodies from every corner of Paris and carry them to the catacombs. They didn't just bury them, they stacked them, layer upon layer of bones, skulls, and remains. Some bodies weren't even fully decomposed. Others had been buried alive, an unsettling truth that haunts the catacombs to this very day. Imagine being one of those workers, carrying a wagon full of decomposing bodies through the city streets at night. The air thick with the smell of decay, and the sense that, somewhere in the darkness, something unnatural might be watching. Here's where the story starts to get really unsettling. The catacombs are like a maze. They stretch for miles beneath the city, and no one truly knows all the paths. The tunnels are so intricate that getting lost is a real possibility. And once you're lost, well, it's not just getting lost, it's disappearing. In fact, there's been a strange pattern of disappearances over the years. Some explorers who dared to venture into these tunnels came out with wild stories, while others simply vanished. Let's talk about Philibert Aspert, a man who entered the catacombs in 1793. He was never seen again. Years later, his body was found, but with one haunting detail: his journal. His final entry read, "They are watching. This was the first sign that something in these tunnels wasn't quite right, but it wouldn't be the last." The 1993 police footage. In 1993, a group of police officers were investigating the catacombs when they discovered an abandoned video camera. They played the footage, and what they saw still chills the bones of those who watched it. A man was holding the camera, breathing heavily as he ran down the dark tunnels. The flashlight flickered, and in the distance, the sound of bones crunching beneath his feet echoed through the walls. He turned a corner, and then, a blood-curdling scream. The camera fell, the footage cut to black, and the officers found no trace of the man. His name never discovered. This is the kind of thing that makes me never want to step foot in the catacombs. It's not just the idea of being lost underground. It's the idea that something might be hunting you. And it's not a ghost. It's something much darker. As if all the disappearances weren't enough, there's another layer to this mystery. In 2004, police stumbled upon something that made them question everything. They entered a section of the catacombs that had been completely sealed off. Inside, they found what could only be described as an underground cinema, a fully functional theater, complete with chairs, a screen, and even a bar. And here's the kicker. There was a note on the wall that simply read, "Do not try to find us." When the police came back with backup, the entire cinema had vanished. There were no chairs, no bar, no screen. Nothing was left behind, except for that cryptic message. But this wasn't a one-time thing. Over the years, explorers and trespassers have found hidden chambers in the catacombs, decorated with bones, candles, and altars. Some believe these chambers are used by secret societies, groups who still conduct rituals in the dark depths of the catacombs. In 2015, explorers found a room filled with freshly arranged bones and, in the center, a red-stained knife. Now, I don't know about you, but rituals involving bones and knives? That's a deal-breaker for me. I'm all for solving mysteries, but not if it involves stepping into a secret society's creepy underground hideout. Let's get to the real unknown. The catacombs we've talked about are just the tip of the iceberg. Beneath Paris, there are vast, uncharted tunnels, forbidden areas that have been sealed off by the government. The city maps from the early 19th century show tunnels leading to an unknown chamber, a place that remains a mystery to this day. People have tried to explore these sealed tunnels, but none of them have returned. The Pale Man. Some say the real horror of the catacombs is a ghostly figure that roams the deepest tunnels. Known only as the Pale Man, he is said to have no face, no eyes, no features. Just a pale figure that moves through the darkness. Reports say that if you come across the Pale Man, you'll hear nothing but a deep, hollow breath before he's gone. Others claim that the Pale Man is not a ghost, but something much worse. An ancient creature that has lived beneath Paris for centuries. I don't know about you, but faceless figures are my worst nightmare. If I saw something like that staring at me in the dark, I wouldn't be running for the exit. I'd be running straight into the nearest panic attack. So, what do we know about the Paris Catacombs? They're not just a burial site. They're a gateway to something far more sinister, a place where the dead never truly rest. It's a place where people vanish, a place where secrets are hidden, and perhaps most terrifying of all, a place where the darkness never ends. If you ever find yourself at the entrance to the catacombs, just remember, some doors are better left unopened. Still hungry for more of the weirdest, creepiest, and most unsettling history? Check out my next video where we uncover even darker mysteries hiding in plain sight. Click now before it's too late.